In spring 2022, reports of a kidnapping in progress led to a dangerous high-speed police chase, culminating in a deadly crash on Interstate 25 near Santa Fe, New Mexico. The resulting head-on collision tragically claimed 2 lives. After the abductee was safely in police custody, she had a story to tell, a truly unbelievable one. This week, we're taking a look at a case that unfolded over several days in March 2022. It's another instance where the truth is dramatically different from how it initially appears. Let's take a look. Around 11 a.m. on March 2nd, 2022, Santa Fe resident Richard Musser was leaving his home at the Vizcaya apartment complex near St. Francis Drive to run some errands. In the parking lot of his building, he encountered a woman in distress. She was inside a white Chevy Malibu, which had parked perpendicularly to his car, blocking him in. Richard could see the woman arguing with a male passenger. Moments later, she desperately called out to him for help. Richard immediately dialed 911 while the white Malibu sped away from the building. 8 minutes later, Officer Romero of the Santa Fe PD spotted the car and activated his lights and sirens, attempting to pull it over. In response, the vehicle dangerously increased its speed, made evasive maneuvers through heavy traffic, ran several red lights, and performed illegal U-turns. After several minutes, and with additional police cruisers joining the high-stakes chase, the white Malibu made a terrifying turn southbound into the northbound lanes of Interstate 25. Speeding at an estimated 80+ miles per hour, the car forced its way through oncoming traffic. Calls immediately began pouring into emergency services from horrified motorists. A white car almost hit me, and then 5 minutes later, he's on the opposite side. Officer Robert Duran followed in the second position behind Officer Norris, chasing the vehicle at high speeds against traffic. Meanwhile, Officer Romero drove parallel on the southbound lanes. The hope was to find an opportunity to stop the car. Perhaps if the driver made another U-turn on the highway, they would be in a position to block it and force a stop. As the white Malibu continued its reckless speed towards oncoming traffic, the lights and sirens from Duran and Norris's cruisers, which were in close pursuit, served as the only warning to the unsuspecting vehicles in the northbound lanes. Many, hearing the piercing sirens, were able to pull off towards the sides, though tragically, not all. Reacting in only seconds, the driver of a black GMC pickup truck attempted to avoid the Malibu and collided head-on with Officer Duran's cruiser. Behind that horrific wreck, another Santa Fe officer traveling at a safer distance ran into another northbound vehicle, which had been forced off the road by the Malibu. The dash camera from a semi-truck caught a chilling glimpse of the crash. The Malibu clipped the sides of 2 more vehicles, the second of which caused enough damage to force the car off the highways. In the immediate aftermath, officers emerged to assess the damage and render assistance. From the southbound lanes, Officer Romero watched as the alleged kidnapping victim emerged from the vehicle and frantically ran from the car. His radio crackled with urgency. "I got the female coming back to me right now. There's probably one else standing in the car." He instructed her, "Come back to me. Let me see your hands. Come back." She was disoriented, asking, "Where is he? Where is he? Is he in the car?" She then pointed, "No, he went that way." Romero ordered, "Come here, get down, let me check you." He directed her into the cruiser. "Get in the car." "Okay, get in the car, get in the car. Let me see. I need to check you. I need to check you for weapons." He then pressed for information. "Okay, where is he at? Who is it?" She identified him. "His name is Mark. He's my boyfriend." When asked about weapons, she affirmed, "Yes, he does. What does he have?" "He has a gun." She reiterated he had fled. He ran, yes, he did." Officer Romero relayed the information. "So I have the victim right now in the back of my car. She's saying it's her boyfriend. I don't know the name yet. He's got 1080 with the gun, went into these bushes right here." Calls for backup poured in. Okay, let's get some clarification on exactly where we're at, and we need to establish a perimeter on that. Please. She repeated his name. His name is Mark. Mark what? When asked if he ran off, she confirmed, yes, he did. Officers checked the car. Are you sure he's not in the vehicle? I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. You're positive I'm positive, sir. He hit me, and he ran. The vehicle still needed to be cleared. We need to clear this vehicle as well. I don't know if there's anybody else in here. She then revealed a terrifying detail. Oh, he was going to burn me. He was going to set me on fire. She confirmed injuries. Did he stab you at all? Did he hurt you at all? I don't know. When pressed about weapons, she said, he has a gun or no, a gun and a knife. His last name was Lopez. Okay, what's his last name? Lopez. Lopez. She didn't know his birth date. I am not too sure because I haven't been going out with him very long. When asked about who was driving, she clarified, I was not driving. He got out. He was driving. She reiterated his threats. He said that he was going to kill me and let me on fire. There's gas in the car. Mark Lopez. Yes. Tell him to be careful. There's gas in there. Romero then summarized the situation. Okay, so the victim is saying that the suspect is a Mark Lopez, no date of birth. Apparently, there's gas and fire in the car. I didn't see anybody exit besides her, so he may still be in the vehicle. Okay, stay in the car. Okay, keep your head down. He has a gun. The woman who emerged from the vehicle was identified as 46-year-old Janine Jaramillo. She was immediately taken to hospital to receive treatment for the injuries she claimed she sustained during the kidnapping and pursuit. When emergency services arrived on scene, they found that 43-year-old father of two, Officer Robert Duran, had been killed in the crash. The driver of the GMC pickup truck, 62-year-old retired firefighter from Las Vegas, Frank Lovato, likewise succumbed to his injuries. Frank was a beloved husband, father, and grandfather. Beginning as a volunteer firefighter, he rose through the ranks to the position of engineer with the Las Vegas Fire Department before his eventual retirement. Known as a loving and selfless friend and family man, Frank was also very active in his church. Robert Duran was the father of two young boys, deeply committed to his family and community. Robert also had a passion for the outdoors, and at only 43 years old, was an active hunter, dirt biker, and camper. The officer's tragic loss was a terrible blow to the Santa Fe PD and the wider community. In the immediate aftermath of the incident, calls were made for additional resources as law enforcement shut down the interstate on both sides and began the laborious process of combing through the surrounding bushes in search of the elusive Mark Lopez. Police released notices to local residents advising them to stay in and to lock their doors. They issued warnings that an armed man was likely on foot in the area. A school was placed on lockdown, and local events were canceled. One major hurdle law enforcement faced in these initial hours was that they lacked a detailed description of the alleged kidnapper. Janine appeared in a state of shock following the incident and was able to provide only scattered pieces of information pertaining to the man's identity. Authorities stated a male was armed with a knife and was taking a vehicle occupied by a woman. We're still working on his involvement and the totality of the investigation. We do plan to release his information once we get everything locked down and his identity. She was transported to a local hospital and she's still being investigated and interviewed by law enforcement. Janine was then taken to the station to speak further with detectives. She told Agent Wyatt Harwell of the New Mexico State Police what she knew about her alleged kidnapper, the man named Mark Lopez. Janine knew that Mark had two sons. On that day, he was wearing a red shirt, black jacket, and black pants. She didn't know his birth date and couldn't provide a detailed description of his facial features. It wasn't a lot to go on. When asked how long they had been dating, Janine was vague. Oh my God, I've known him like 2 to maybe 4 months. I don't know at all. That's why I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't know this person. I didn't kind of knew that. turned into an evil, evil person, and he was not like that. He claimed to be from Santa Fe and wanted her to stay with him. She confirmed his last name was Lopez. She thought he was younger than her, but wasn't sure of his exact age. Eventually, Janine recounted how the incident had started that morning. It began outside of the home of one of Mark's friends. She said they had an argument, and he had struck her. Janine explained that she had been hit in the head and must have passed out for a period of time. Only portions of the ordeal were clear to her. Most details were murky. She described being awakened violently. He woke me up like in this so terrible way, but pouring some gas on me. He smelled it, and then I felt like the cold, wiping my clothes and everything. He told me it was going to burn me. He said he was going to set me on fire and I was going to die. But he was going to kill me. Okay, he didn't, and I'm glad for that. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't understand all that. I can't understand everything. It's hard. It's hard. Janine continued to outline her alleged injuries: a cut on her top lip, and injuries to her head, chest, and neck. She claimed he had punched her in the chest when she tried to leave. You want to go home still, and he says you're not leaving. He begins striking you in your chest. Is that right? Yeah. And how is it with a hand, with a weapon? He punched me. He was punching me with his fist. It was a closed fist, like this, yeah. Okay. She tried to block his hits, and I was trying to put my hand down so he could stop hitting me. She claimed to have seen a knife. I seen him. I had his knife in his hand and everything, but it was closed. But I seen it. So when you say closed, was it a folding knife? Yeah, and the blade was closed, yeah, but he was still holding it against your neck and your chest. He threatened her life. Yeah, and he was telling me that I'm not gonna leave and he was gonna kill me. And he said, "You're not leaving, I'm gonna kill you." She was terrified. And how did that make you feel when he said that? I was so scared. I was all, oh no. And I started crying and screaming. I was starting to scream, and then he was punching me so hard in my head that I didn't know what was going on anymore. Where at on your head, I had on the side there. She even claimed gasoline got in her eyes. Yeah, I think everything was very blurry because I think that the doctor said that I must have got gas in my eye because they had to flush my eyes out. Gasoline. She had no memory of driving or escaping. Do you remember going the wrong way on the highway? Do you remember getting out of the car? I remember a little bit. Because after that, I could not see, and I was so scared to even open my eyes. I was scared. As time went on, contradictions began to emerge in Janine's story. She pointed to her head injury as the source of her confusion. She had blacked out, she said. And when she regained consciousness, the deadly car chase had already occurred and her assailant had run from the vehicle into the trees. However, officers at the scene never lost sight of the Chevy Malibu. Crucially, these officers saw Janine escaping the car. No one else. She appeared to exit the driver's side, though she claimed not to be the driver. To Agent Harwell, she stated that she had no idea how her alleged ex-boyfriend exited the vehicle. It was all so chaotic and she had been so scared. Somehow, the Malibu's keys were later retrieved from her pocket when she was placed in the police cruiser after the incident. Notably, Janine showed no visible signs of the extensive injuries she claimed to have sustained during the alleged kidnapping. Police obtained a search warrant for the Chevy Malibu. They found that the passenger side, where Janine had ostensibly been during the car chase, was so full of items it seemed implausible that she would have fit in the seat or even on the floor. Additionally, only the driver's side airbag had released upon impact. Of course, only Janine had been witnessed leaving the vehicle. No one but her had seen Mark Lopez after the crash. If there remained any doubt that Janine Jaramillo was the car's driver and its only occupant, the car's computer data also definitively showed that the weight sensors on the passenger side indicated that no one had been in that seat. She nonetheless continued to tell her dramatic story to local news reporters in the days following. She expressed gratitude for the work of law enforcement, who, she said, saved her life, even as one officer tragically sacrificed his own to save her from an assumed attacker. She reiterated her claims. I wanted to come home and he did not want to bring me, and it started a big old argument. And I had talked to one. I was yelling for help to this one man that lived in those apartments, and he did help me. He called the police. She insisted on the weapons. Did he have that knife to you, or could you see that knife? Yes, and he also had a gun. She described her escape. I fell to the ground and I seen the police. I looked up and there was the police, and I just ran for my life, and I was screaming, help me, like, I'm crying, I'm hysterical, and I'm in shock. However, forensic evidence painted a different picture. DNA matching Janine's was swabbed directly from the steering wheel. Fibers taken from the driver's seat matched the sweater that she had been wearing. That sweater, crucially, had no gasoline on it, despite her claim of being doused in the liquid as part of her abduction. Janine was brought in for a second round of questioning. She maintained her story, attributing inconsistencies to her injuries and fear. Now listen, I saw Mark, me, myself, and everything's blurry. Okay, I see he's breaking into this vehicle, and it was like a truck. I could barely see it. Well, you saw that vehicle. I saw a little bit of it, I could barely see. I had gasoline in my eyes. How did you see the vehicle? What were you doing? Where were you at when you saw this vehicle? I'm moving around all over the car because he's all driving crazy. I'm all over, if I recall correctly. You said you were on the floorboard. How did you see this vehicle? Because I want to know what's going on. I want to get out of there. I'm moving around. I'm trying to figure out what to do. I'm going crazy. All right, I'm scared for my life. I want to get the hell out of there. So you're moving around and you saw this vehicle. Not really just moving because I want to. I'm moving because he's all over the road and I'm getting pushed around, thrown around in the car. She stuck to her story. Even when left alone in the room, seemingly praying for help, understanding her narrative, stating, Mark did so much wrong to me. It seems that the Malibu had been stolen from Las Vegas 2 days before the crash, and this was notably not the first time that Janine had stolen a vehicle. Indeed, her criminal history was extensive, particularly relating to car thefts and high-speed chases. The previous October, Janine had stolen a utility truck and again led police on a chase, later claiming that it was not her, but her boyfriend that had taken the vehicle, insisting she was an unwilling participant. Then there was the incident in September 2021 when she was involved in another police chase in nearby Cibola County. Video captured part of this incident when the stolen vehicle crashed into a fence before pulling back onto the road. At that time, Janine told deputies that she had been held against her will yet again. She told them, okay, my boyfriend kept me here. Where's your grants? Grants. And for 2 days, he didn't let me go. I don't know what the hell. He didn't give me no water. He didn't give me nothing. That's why, when I came to this man's house here, I asked him for a water. I'm so dehydrated, sir. He just kidnapped me and didn't let me do anything. Reviewing this incident, the description Janine provided of her kidnapper was oddly familiar. A man with a red shirt, black jacket, and black pants. When asked about his clothing, she confirmed, he's wearing a red shirt also with black jeans. They're they hang off, where it shows his ass. Yeah. She described his seating. Where was he sitting in the car? He was down on the ground more. On the ground, what seat? Kind of down on the middle part of... He was on the passenger side. He was on the passenger side down, so how could he be holding a knife to your neck, keeping you from stopping if he's down on the floorboard of the vehicle? She again claimed he had a knife. He had the knife in his hand, sir, but then he got up and he put it to my neck. She recounted threats. He told me that he was going to kill me if I tried to stop again because I was trying to stop, sir. I was trying to stop and then he punched me right here and he was choking me. He was choking me. Most of the time, he was choking me. It hurts me. I can't even... He was choking you while you were driving from us. No, he was punching my stomach. He punched me a lot of times in my stomach, and he told me not to stop because I was pushing the brake. I was trying to stop. Despite her detailed story, police in that incident concluded that there had been no one else in the car. State police tracked down the Mark Lopez, whose photo and personal information had been circulated across social media after the alert was issued, and definitively ruled him out as a suspect. Mark Thomas Lopez was not involved in the incident. He had never even met Jeanine Jaramillo, but was identified as a potential suspect based solely on the name she gave police. 3 days following the horrific crash that took the lives of 2 public servants, both husbands and fathers, the Santa Fe police announced charges against Jeanine Jaramillo, 2 counts of first-degree murder. The New Mexico State Police declared, "We have now concluded through our detailed investigation that there was never a kidnapping or a male suspect involved. We believe Jaramillo led officers on a chase, driving the suspect car and causing the fatal crash that killed Officer Duran and Mr. Lovato. Jaramillo's actions put the entire public in danger and took the lives of 2 dedicated public servants. She caused a senseless tragedy that has impacted the community of Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and all of New Mexico, and the pain her actions have caused will not be alleviated by this arrest alone. There will be lasting consequences." In 2024, after a proposed plea deal in the case tragically fell through, Jeanine Jaramillo stood trial. She was also charged with aggravated fleeing, great bodily injury by vehicle, 1 stolen vehicle charge, making a false report, and reckless driving. The state charged Jeanine under 2 different theories of first-degree murder, neither of which requires proof that the murders were premeditated. The first, felony murder, applies when the killing occurs while another felony is committed, such as stealing a car and fleeing police. The second theory is known as depraved mind murder, asserting that Jeanine showed a blatant disregard for human life and should have known her actions would lead to great bodily harm or death. The prosecution emphasized the officer's consistent observations. Neither Norris or Romero ever had eyes off this vehicle. Both Officer Norris and Officer Romero see one person crawl out of the driver's side window. That person, at that moment in time, they believed was the female captive. The female captive runs to Officer Norris. She's distraught. She's scared. She's frantic. Her arms in the air. She's screaming, "He tried to kill me. He has a knife. He poured gasoline all over me. He has a gun. He beat my head." But now she was safe. Officers believed they had just saved her life. The defense, however, asserted that the Santa Fe police violated their own policies on high-speed pursuits by chasing the Malibu at dangerously high speeds down the interstate. Attorney David Silva questioned why the chase was not called off, given the immense risk to the officers involved. The implication, of course, was that Jeanine was not at fault for the fatal crash, but was, in fact, one of the victims. Officer Duran, the defense suggested, was to blame for continuing to pursue her. However, Officer Robert Duran had every reason to believe that he was racing to save the life of a terrified woman held at knife point by an erratic and dangerous driver. Sergeant John DeBaca explained that a kidnapping in progress was amongst the most serious emergency calls addressed by the police department. Their response, he testified, directly reflected the severity of the situation. There was limited information because this was a third-party caller who just said, "Hey, a woman is shouting. This guy with a knife in the car. Car takes off as that's happening. She's shouting, 'Call the police.' We're talking about a circumstance where the ultimate threshold would be death. And what you have to understand in this circumstance is the death being the threshold is equal to not only everyone that is on the highway, but it is equal to the person who is potentially being kidnapped. When asked if any officer could terminate the pursuit, he confirmed, yes. Did any officer terminate Num, which shows that we were equally on the same page? All of us felt the exact same way about that circumstance and that there was no other alternative but to continue. A Santa Fe officer conceded that parts of the department's pursuit policy may have been violated by not limiting the number of officers who can participate in a chase. However, at that time, it was believed that more officers were needed to ensure Janine's safety from her alleged kidnapper. Though the 911 call was originally placed by a third party, Richard Masser, the information relayed to responders had been clear. There was a man inside the car with the victim. And indeed, at that time, there had been Janine's real boyfriend, a man named Jerry Chavez, had been in the stolen Malibu with her when she called out for help. The Good Samaritan who placed the emergency call therefore also did so in good faith, as he could clearly see a man with Janine in the car. Other aspects of her story also held a grain of truth. The two had an argument in the car, just as she claimed to police. However, their disagreement was not violent, and Jerry was not trying to abduct her. Angry with him, she wanted Jerry to get out of the vehicle. When he refused, Janine called out to Richard for help, falsely claiming Jerry had a knife. Of course, later, she completely omitted Jerry from her story. Jerry testified, "I didn't want to get out of the car because I didn't want to get stranded here in Santa Fe. She kept asking me to get out, and I kept telling her no. And then she pulled up to some guy who was standing there and asked him to call the police." Investigators later found blurry surveillance footage that showed a figure exiting the vehicle before the police chase began. The footage corroborated Jerry's assertion that, after his girlfriend called out for help, he simply got out of the car and walked away. Janine did not take the stand at trial. Her version of events, inconsistent and unsupported by the physical evidence and eyewitnesses, had been thoroughly disputed by the state. The final argument made by her defense attorney, David Silva, was simply that the first-degree murder charges did not apply. There was no proof that Janine knew her actions would lead to anyone's death, he stated. But there's no evidence that she had an evil mind, a perverted mind, a corrupt mind. There's no evidence that she knew that her driving was going to result in the deaths of those two men. D.A. Carmack Altviz countered, telling jurors during her closing argument that the pursuit was absolutely necessary. She used a powerful analogy. If a firefighter runs into a burning building to save an innocent person and then that firefighter dies, do we blame that firefighter? Or do we blame the arsonist? Janine Jaramillo is the arsonist. After several hours of deliberations, the jury returned with their verdict. State of New Mexico versus Janine Jaramillo. We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 1. State of New Mexico versus Janine Jaramillo. We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree as charged in count 2. At her sentencing hearing, Janine took the opportunity to apologize to the Duran and Lovato families for what she called her poor decisions. Though she stopped short of expressing a willingness to accept an appropriate punishment. "I'm sorry," she pleaded. "I just have found me with all my heart. If I could take back that day, I would. I made bad choices. I was on drugs and I was drinking, but I also have my family that I'm hurting. Putting me away many years is not going to bring them back. God knows. I deserve a second chance. Your Honor, please, for my family and myself, I would never do that. I would never cause harm. I'm sorry." Victim impact statements from both families were understandably heartbreaking and highlighted the integrity with which both victims had served in their roles as public servants. Robert Duran's brother testified. He cared more for her life that day than she did. "My brother died trying to save her life." Her sorry, but not sorry letter. It was also very hurtful and upsetting to hear the details of her accounts when my brother gave the ultimate sacrifice. 2 beautiful lives were lost. 2 families that will never be the same. Judge Mary Marlowe Summer was not receptive to Janine's pleas for mercy, nor was she pleased with the convict's behavior while she handed down the sentence. Janine defiantly interrupted. "I'm not a murderer. I am not. I am going. I am not a murderer." The judge sternly commanded, "Stop talking. Please, let my judge finish." Janine continued to protest her innocence, reiterating her previous claims. "What did you say after you'd been found out I'm sorry for my reckless driving?" "But I didn't crash. I didn't cause the crash between Officer Duran and Frank Lovato. What's that implication I was not in that crash?" The judge firmly countered. After 5 days of evidence and testimony, the jury said, "You did." With respect to count 1, first-degree murder of Frank Lovato, the judge sentenced her to life imprisonment. With respect to count 2, first-degree murder of Robert Duran, she was also sentenced to life imprisonment. With respect to count 3, she received 3 years. Janine Jaramillo, 49 years old at the time of sentencing, will serve a minimum of 60 years in prison for the murders before she is eligible for parole. That was the tragic story of Robert Duran and Frank Lovato. Thank you once again for joining me. I'm Harry Snake. This is Killer Confessions, and I'll see you in the next one.